And you mentioned, in the sustainable operations assessment, you're focusing on energy, carbon, water, waste, and materials. I heard you say you do benchmarking and you actually do the carbon footprinting for a company. So for those of you that are listening, we talked about carbon footprinting a while ago, and we talked about scope one emissions and scope two. Scope one is going to be fuels that a company uses. Scope two is going to be electricity. So can you tell us how you use that information then to help a company set their overall decarbonization strategy and what that would mean?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, we really at Sustainable Solutions believe that you really need to understand your operations in order to set a decarbonization strategy. So, it's both kind of a top down and bottoms up approach. Obviously, you need to understand, what's important to the corporation and the market to be able to set goals. But we also believe that you need to really understand what are your opportunities and what is achievable in order to kind of walk up to what those goals in that strategy should be. So we do that initial benchmark of, scope one and scope two, and, sometimes we'll get into scope three, but really understand what are your impacts in that baseline year. And then we really take those opportunities and understand what is your potential reduction. So when we work with companies on a decarbonization strategy or, goal setting, we can really understand, okay, at this site, we saw X% reduction in your energy use. That results to this carbon footprint reduction. And, let's put a timeline on those to understand, what is achievable in the next, 5, 10, 15 years to get that decarbonization strategy in place.
That's really awesome. And if you think about it, there's so many companies out there that just set goals without a plan, and many of them are making big commitments out to the world. And this is sounds like it's really important to be understanding what can actually be done in order to set that overall strategy. And I love what you said. Not only are you going to understand, but then you're going to use that to set real goals that could be achieved. And I believe you also do a little look at maybe renewable energy possibilities. Is that part of the decarbonization strategy as well?
Yeah, so we kind of look at decarbonization from a few different, opportunities. So we start with kind of low hanging fruit of, what are your, operational behavioral changes? Like simply, can you turn off the lights at the end of the day and save energy that way? That doesn't, or add an occupancy sensor so nobody has to remember to turn off your lights. So we can do that from lighting all the way up to your bigger equipment and look at what are your easy, low hanging fruit or no cost opportunities. Then we kind of will look at what are those larger capital investments, maybe an equipment upgrade to a higher efficiency model, look at electrification. And, we really want to make sure obviously renewable energy is great and we can look at those opportunities, but we want to first start with how can you reduce your demand in the first place so you're using less energy. So we'll start with some of those opportunities and then look at what are renewable energy opportunities, which may vary by site, by company. Some sites may have opportunities to put on-site solar in. They have the space or the infrastructure to support that. Or maybe there's an opportunity for a virtual power purchase agreement where you're buying renewable energy credits from, a set location. So we will look at that as well as incentives to help companies understand, once we do that demand reduction, what are their opportunities to convert the rest of your electricity use to a renewable source to really drive down that carbon footprint.
Yeah, excellent point. It's a really critical. I know we've talked about this in other podcasts about reducing that consumption and demand. I can't tell you how many facilities I go in and there's all this equipment running and nothing happening. Or people are off on lunch or break and they just leave everything running and it's just consuming energy and sometimes that adds up in a big way. So it's really great that you're doing that. That is the best approach I can see to really making, you know, setting goals and also being real to the world, right? You're not just buying your way out of your carbon. You're basically really going after it in an engineering manner to reduce that.